Hey guys, Geek John here, and as you've guessed from the title of this video, we're going to mess around with HTPC software. In case you're wondering, this video applies to people that love watching movies, TV series, anime, animation on their PC screens or TV screens. Through this tutorial, I'm going to guide you through my setup and your results. Of course, I have to clarify, may vary depending on how powerful your rig is. The tools that we're using are Potplayer as the media player, madVR, LAVFilters, and in my case, Reclock. Another clarification is that I am not the creator of this software pack that I'm going to download, and of course you're free to go to the developer sites and download each and every one of these software individually and install them individually on your system without using the software pack that I'm going to use. Also, on the same link, you will not only find the download links for the software pack, but you will also find a text guide that you can follow if you prefer that. So without further ado, let's go to my PC screen and get on with the tutorial. So here we are on my PC screen, and the first step is to navigate to this website. I'm gonna have a link in the description of the video. You can also follow the guide for the Media Player Classic Home Cinema Edition by clicking here, as you can probably see. And anyway, what we want to do right now is to scroll further down, and there is this title that says software checklist. Make sure that you download and install all the mandatory installation like the DirectX and User Runtime June 2010. But what I am going to download right now is the LAVFilters Megamix. I'm going to click on the 32-bit version. This is what suits my needs, because I'm gonna use Reclock. That's only a 32-bit program. So I'm gonna click save and wait for the download to finish. And while I am waiting, I'm going to go to my control panel and install programs, hit L, and I'm going to uninstall the previous installation of LAVFilters. So hit uninstall, yes, and we're done. If you have installed individually madVR, LAVFilters, or Potplayer, I would strongly recommend to uninstall them one by one and have a clean system. As you can see on my desktop, where we saved the .exe file, we double click on it, click on more info and run anyway. Next, we're going to install Potplayer slimmed down version only. Next, install. You do not want to tick any of these, just click finish. So what I'm going to do now is open up my file explorer, go and open up one of my videos. Let's say the latest one I had was the Star Wars Battlefront first look, and we're gonna run it.
Hey guys, Geek John here, and today.
And as you can see, Potplayer fired up, and there are some initial things that I like to take care of first. I do not like the playlist, so I right click and uncheck this, and then I click on the repeat button, because I do not like my videos to be repeated over and over again when they're done. First of all, I'm going to right click and go to preferences, and I'm going to go to general tab, and under the general tab we can see OSD messages, and I always like to enable those. Apply, and then I'm going to go to the filter control, go to source splitter, and we are going to select one of these that say LAV splitter source and not something else, and click on these three dot buttons. No matter on which one of these, let's say LAVFilters source, you click on, the setting will be universal. So just click on one. And the first thing I like to do on the splitter is that I like to select the default audio sequences and subtitle sequences that the splitter will prefer over other languages. So because I like Japanese anime and I watch a lot of those, I like those to be on the Japanese language, but I like my subtitles to be English. And also a lot of Blu-rays or DVDs, for some reason, when they detect that this is a European-based PC, they just go and play the audio on some different language like French or German for some reason. You can fix that by just typing the languages that you want based on the example over here. So I like my audio first to select Japanese for my anime and then English. And then for subtitles, it will always be English. I will hit apply and then OK. And that setting is universal. Then I'm gonna go to video decoder. And again, I'm going to click on this three dot button. I'm going to leave the hardware acceleration to none. We're going to use the software acceleration. And I'm going to just tick the RGB 48. The reason I will not select any hardware acceleration is because I want my GPU to give everything that it's got to the madVR options we're going to select later and not having to deal with decoding as well. So that's the only change we're making, RGB 48, apply and then OK. The audio decoder, this is the LAV audio decoder. You can see here that I'm not going to change anything, but if in your case you're using an AV receiver and you want to bitstream, you are going to tick any of these options that your receiver supports. The receiver might be even your TV. They're expensive, yes, TVs out there, but they do support even some DTS or True HD. We're not going to enable mixing or mess with the formats. Just hit apply and OK. So filter priority preset specific. We're not going to mess with any of these because we've downloaded a software pack that has pre-selected options and filters and priorities. If you haven't downloaded the software pack, I would suggest that you add all these in the specific order to do what they're meant to do. So I'm going to click on each and every one of them individually. You can pause the video and prefer or block them as it is specified here. What we want to do is double click on XY subfilter and you can see that you can actually change the text style, and this is personal preference. I like the Kandara font lately, so I'm going to go with Kandara regular and 14, and then I'm going to change the encoding to Greek because if I use Greek subtitles they won't come out as something uncomprehensive. So apply and OK. Next thing is make sure that on the video tab your video renderer is MADC video renderer, and audio tab make sure you use the Reclock audio renderer if you're going to watch your movies or TV series or anime on your TV as well. If you're not going to do that, you just leave the built-in Wasapi audio renderer. In my case, I'm going to use my TV as well, so I'm going to use Reclock. You can actually enter here your speaker setup so your system knows how to encode your or decode your audio. I'm going to use the 32-bit floating point and same as input and click apply. So the next thing we want to do is close our Potplayer and play back again the video. So we have some Reclock settings to do.
Hey guys.
Go to filters by right clicking, and then you can see that Reclock is over here and it's actually playing. So what we need Reclock for basically is for the media adaptation, and it will sync your speed of the video and audio in a way that even if your TV is not set exactly to the hertz that is needed to be smooth as a playback, Reclock will take care of that and you will not have any dropped frames. To do that, you just go to media adaptation and unclick the locked option, go all the way to the top and select for the speed auto best. And I'm going to click OK. I'm not going to mess with any of the other settings, so I'm going to click OK. The other thing you want to do is go to your start menu and find Reclock's settings by just typing anywhere. And you can see here, configure Reclock, and you will actually see something like this. I would actually suggest that you use the Wasapi exclusive if you're going to watch a movie or a TV series or something and you don't want to be interrupted by anything, because the Wasapi exclusive will just take over your audio decoder exclusively, so you will not have any other sound coming out from any other software. Like if someone Skypes you at that moment, you will not hear the notification sound. The only sound you will be hearing will be the sound that Potplayer makes through Reclock audio renderer. I usually do that if I am watching stuff on my TV, because it uses a different audio renderer, and if someone Skypes me or messages me, the audio will come out from my PC speakers while the video I'm watching is coming out from my TV speakers. So it doesn't really make a huge difference for me, but if you're just going to use it exclusively on your computer, I would suggest you leave the PCM on direct sound and you will have sound from everywhere. The other thing I like to do is untick the when speeding up, when slowing down, and time stretching. Output mono sources to both front channels, I do like that. Set matching speaker configuration is a good option. I disable the bitstream in this particular setting because I'm not going to use bitstream. And then what I do is same as input, and 24-bit padded to 32, and these are actually my options. In your case, many of these settings may vary, but I am not able to tell you what to do because it depends heavily on your hardware or your setup. So I would suggest, if you don't know what you're doing, just follow the text guide for more information about this. But if you do know what you're doing and you can find your way around, then just select the options that you need to select and have the best possible results. So I'm gonna click OK here, and our audio is configured. Next step is to configure madVR, which is gonna be a bit more complicated than what we've done up till now. In order to get to madVR settings, we're just going to right click on Potplayer while it's playing back a video, and we're going to go to filters and click on madC video renderer. We're going to edit settings, and the first thing we want to set up is our devices. This is a Dell PC monitor, so the first thing I'm going to do is to select the correct device type. Next thing is just click on this small arrow and you will see the EDID identification that the hardware gives this software, madVR, to be more specific. And we go to properties. We will leave the PC level 0 to 255. This is an IPS monitor, so the 8-bit setting is correct. We're not going to change that. Calibration. I know that this monitor has been calibrated, so I'm going to select this display is already calibrated, and disable GPU gamma ramps and not mess with any of the other settings. Display modes. This PC monitor doesn't support any other display mode than 60 Hz, so we're just going to leave it at default, and then go to color and gamma and just leave it as is, because we have selected these options on the calibration tab. So the next step is to go to processing. You can see here that the interlacing is the first option, and we're just going to leave it at default. Artifact removal, we are actually going to enable this, and the default debanding strength will be medium, and during fade in and out will be high. Image enhancements, we're also going to enable Luma Sharpen, and we're going to tune down the clamp to 0.010. Zoom control, I'm just going to leave these on default. These settings basically were included in madVR for users that were using projectors instead of flat screens. So if you do know what you're doing, feel free to mess with any of these settings. Next is the scaling algorithms. So what we are actually going to do with the scaling algorithms is that we are going to create a profile group, so we'll be able to use different options for SD, 720p and 1080p content, but I am going to establish a base, so I don't have to go to each and every one of these options for every of the profiles and change everything. I'm going to use an NEDI3 32 neurons as a base, and yes, you want the activate super res filter enabled for this option. Image downscaling, I'm going to stick with Catmull ROM and select both of these. Image doubling, I'm going to leave everything disabled, and image upscaling, I'm going to leave it on Langso's 3 tabs and select both activate anti-ringing filter and scaling linear light. And then upscaling refinement, I'm not going to mess with any of these settings. So we are going to click again on the scaling algorithms and click on create profile group. We're going to click on each and every one of these options and click OK, and you can see here that there is a profile. What I'm gonna do is duplicate it 2 times, 1, 2, so we have 3 profiles here. You can name your profile group. I'm going to name it John's HD Profiles, and the first profile is going to be, let's say, the SD one, the second profile is going to be the 720p one, and the third profile is going to be the 1080p one. So for the SD content, we can go a bit overboard on the settings to have a better result, because it's really low resolution and our graphics card can take it. Actually, my graphics card can take it because it's a GTX 770 with 2 GB of VRAM. If your hardware, and especially your CPU and GPU, are a lot weaker, then you can just leave everything at default settings and basically it will look better, but not as good as these. So, image doubling, we're going to enable both double luma resolution, double chroma resolution with always, and crank it up to both of these options to 64 neurons. Image upscaling, we're gonna leave it at default, and upscaling refinement, we're not going to select any of these options. Anyway, let's go to the 720p content. We're going to leave everything at default. Except for the image doubling, we're going to go with double luma resolution only, always if upscaling is needed, and leave it at 32 NEDI3 neurons. Image upscaling and upscaling refinement, we're gonna leave at defaults as we set them up at the beginning. And for 1080p, the only thing we're gonna change is the chroma upscaling is going to be 64 neurons instead of 32. I would suggest that you don't go above 64, because in what I've experienced so far, if I go above 64 with either 128 or 256 neurons, I see visual artifacts on screen. We're not going to do image doubling because my PC screen and my TV screen are both 1080p panels, so there is not going to be any image doubling if I enable the image doubling for 1080p content. So the only change I'm going to make is the 64 instead of 32 neurons on the chroma upscaling. Everything else, as you can see here, is going to be left at the original settings we made when we started this. Also, you're going to wonder, how is this software able to understand which profile to use every time? You can see here that you can add rules, and in order to do that, you can click here for online help, and you can navigate to this website that has actually every command you can find. If you're following my guide, I'm gonna make it a bit easier for you, and I have some already created. I'm gonna link them to the description so you can just copy and paste them on your setup. If you've done everything correctly, then you will see green tick sign. If you haven't, let's say I delete this, you will see this red attention exclamation mark sign. So let's go ahead and test that. We're going to hit apply and OK and OK again. I'm gonna close this and run it once again.
Hey guys.
Blah blah blah, I'm talking again. Just right click, go to filters, madVR render, edit settings, and you should see in bold the profile that is being used, and 1080p is the correct one because this video is a 1080p video. Let's go to our rendering tab. Let's go to general settings, and I'm going to deselect the enable automatic full screen exclusive mode and tick on use DirectX 11 because my GPU is a DirectX 11 GPU, and I'm going to also keep this ticked, present a frame for every VSync, and I'm going to tick on use a separate device for DXVA processing. If I ever choose to enable DXVA processing, this needs to be selected. Windowed mode settings, I'm gonna leave everything at default. Exclusive mode settings, if I was ever gonna use that, I would just untick the delay switch to exclusive mode by 3 seconds. I would just want it, to directly go to exclusive mode. Smooth motion, I'm not gonna use that. Dithering, I'm gonna go with error diffusion option 2. And these two options actually require you to have a DirectX 11 GPU. If you don't, then these options, I don't think they're gonna be active for you. And then trade quality for performance, we're going to untick everything except for this last option that says don't re-render frames when fading out is detected. So just click on everything except for this one, click apply and OK. And then OK again, close your Potplayer and then play back your video again, and everything should be in order. So if you have your TV connected at this point, we're going to go through the last steps of these tutorials, and what we're going to do is play back a video, right click on our Potplayer, go to filters, madVR render, and edit settings one last time. And as you can see here, there is my PC monitor and my TV monitor over here. I will click on this small arrow, and you can see here it has identified that this is an LG Electronics LG TV, and this is a digital monitor / TV. Identification, the EDID, as you can see, gives the basic rundown on this software. Properties, this is a 10-bit panel calibration, I again know that this has been calibrated, and I'm going to select this display is already calibrated and disable GPU gamma ramps. I'm not going to mess around with the power curve because this is the power curve used while calibrating. And display modes, what we are going to change here is the display modes that this screen supports. I'm just going to type in all the supported display modes for this TV, and when I play back a video, then madVR will just select the correct display mode, and it will actually change the hertz that the screen is going to display the video. So I'm going to again have these on the video description, so you can as well copy and paste them. If these are correct, you will see in the brackets the valid text. If it's not correct, then it will say invalid. Let's say I type some letters in there and it says invalid. So just hit apply. I will not mess again with this, and then OK, and you're set to go.